Hey everybody, ready to dive into a solution for food insecurity here in the RGV?
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
It feels like everyone's always complaining about the problem,
Right.
but nobody's offering real solutions.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we're going to do today.
Love it.
We're checking out this proposal called Drive to Thrive, a mobile distribution mission,
Okay.
and it's from Fundación Amor Infinito in partnership with the Food Bank of the RGV.
Awesome.
So we're going to break down exactly how it works,
Right.
what its impact could be,
Yeah.
and how much it's going to cost.
You know what? I think it's about time we move beyond just complaining and start exploring some real solutions.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And what I really like about Drive to Thrive is its focus on practicality and measurable outcomes.
For sure. So just to set the stage for our listeners who might not be as familiar,
Right.
what are some of the biggest challenges when it comes to food insecurity in the RGV?
Well, I think a big one is transportation. Especially for families in the colonias, a lot of them are located miles away from grocery stores,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't always have reliable transportation.
Right. It's like they're stuck in these food deserts.
Exactly. It makes it so hard for them to access affordable and nutritious food.
And that's where Drive to Thrive steps in.
Okay, how so?
They're proposing this awesome idea of bringing the food directly to the people.
Smart.
So we're cutting out those transportation barriers completely.
I like it. So tell me about this partnership.
Okay.
How do Fundación Amor Infinito and the food bank fit together?
It's actually a really cool combo.
Okay.
You've got Fundación Amor Infinito, and they have this deep understanding of the communities they serve.
Right, that local knowledge is so important.
Exactly. They know the needs, the back roads, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you've got the food bank
Yeah.
with their experience in sourcing and distributing food safely.
So it's like they've got the heart and the brains of the operation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So walk me through the logistics. How is Drive to Thrive going to make these deliveries happen every week in over 40 colonias?
Well, they're planning on using 10 small delivery trucks.
Oh, wow. 10 trucks.
Yeah, and that's a smart move because those smaller trucks can handle the rough roads in the colonias.
Makes sense.
Plus, they're more fuel efficient.
So better for the environment and the budget.
Exactly.
Who's going to drive all these trucks?
This is another part I really like.
Okay.
They're planning to hire and train people from the community as drivers.
Wow. So it's creating jobs too.
Exactly. It empowers the community.
Okay. So let's talk money.
All right, let's break it down.
The budget for Drive to Thrive is broken down into two main parts,
Mm-hmm.
truck acquisition
Yes,
and annual operating costs.
got it.
So for those 10 trucks, they're estimating about $125,000,
$12,500 per truck.
which seems like a lot.
Yeah,
But when you think about how many people they're going to reach, it makes sense.
totally. It's an investment.
Okay, so that's to get the trucks on the road.
Right.
What about keeping them running?
So for gas, wages, maintenance, all those daily things,
Mhm.
they're budgeting $187,200 per year.
So all in, we're looking at a pledge request of $312,200 to get Drive to Thrive off the ground.
Right, so what kind of impact are we talking about for that investment?
That's the exciting part. They're projecting to reach over 85,000 people every single week.
Whoa, that's huge.
I know, right? We're talking about bringing fresh food to families who really need it.
And that could change everything for those families.
Absolutely.
It's not just about putting food on the table, it's
Right.
about improving health outcomes,
Uh-huh.
boosting the local economy.
It's about building a stronger community.
Exactly.
So before we get ahead of ourselves, let's really dig into the specifics of how Drive to Thrive plans to make this happen.
You know, we've been focusing on the logistics,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's also important to consider the long-term impact of something like this.
Okay, so what are some of those ripple effects we could see from Drive to Thrive?
Well, for starters, think about the impact on families' health.
Yeah, that's huge.
Access to nutritious food could be a game changer.
Right, because
We could see a reduction in diet-related diseases.
like diabetes,
Exactly. Things like diabetes and heart disease.
which are unfortunately really common in the RGV.
Sadly, yes. And for kids,
Yeah.
reliable access to healthy food can really help their development.
So we're talking
Yeah.
healthier families, stronger communities.
Absolutely. But it goes beyond just physical health, too.
Okay, what else you got?
Remember those local drivers we talked about?
Hmm.
That's not just about getting the food delivered.
Right.
It's about economic empowerment, too.
Yeah, that's a really important point.
Providing jobs, training opportunities.
Putting money back into the community.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's like that saying, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime.
Right?
But in this case, it's more like give a community a truck and empower them to feed themselves.
I love that. And there's another aspect we haven't touched on yet,
What's that?
the environmental impact.
Okay, so Drive to Thrive is saving the planet now, too.
Well, think about it.
Good.
Traditional food distribution can be pretty inefficient.
With all the driving and everything.
Exactly. People have to drive long distances to grocery stores.
Yeah.
More fuel, more emissions.
But Drive to Thrive streamlines everything.
Right. The food goes straight to where it's needed.
So we're reducing the environmental burden.
Exactly. So win, win, win.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
Even though those smaller trucks are better for the environment,
Right.
they're still using gas, still emitting something.
That's a valid point.
So how does the proposal address that?
Yeah, you're right. It's something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
The proposal doesn't get into specifics about alternative fuels,
Okay.
but it definitely opens up the conversation.
Right.
For the future, maybe they could look into electric vehicles.
Ooh, yeah. Or partnering with local farms to make things even more sustainable.
Exactly, thinking long term.
So it's not just about solving the immediate problem. It's about setting ourselves up for a better future.
Absolutely.
All right, so our listeners are probably thinking,
Yeah.
what can we actually do to help make Drive to Thrive happen?
Well, first things first, awareness is key.
Okay.
Tell people about it, share the proposal, get people excited.
Spread the word.
Exactly.
Word of mouth is powerful.
It really is, but of course, sometimes
Yeah.
we need more than just good vibes.
Right, like cold hard cash.
Exactly. Financial support is crucial.
And that's where donations come in.
Yeah, even small donations can make a big difference.
So it's about investing in a solution.
Right.
Investing in our community.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the impact here in the RGV,
Mm-hmm.
but this idea of mobile food distribution,
Yeah.
could this work in other places too?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's something I've been wondering myself.
Okay.
While this proposal is specific to the RGV,
Mm-hmm.
I think the core principles could apply anywhere.
So break it down for me. What are those key elements that could be replicated in other communities?
Well, first, collaboration is huge.
Right, like with Foundation Amon and Finito and the Food Bank,
Exactly. You need those partnerships.
bringing together different strengths.
Right. And then community engagement.
So getting the community involved,
Exactly. Making them part of the solution.
which is what Drive to Thrive does by hiring local drivers.
Exactly. It's about empowerment.
Yeah.
And finally, efficiency.
So those smaller trucks, the optimized routes,
Exactly. Making the most of every resource.
minimizing waste.
Right. Because sustainability is key.
So collaboration, community engagement, and efficiency.
Those are the magic ingredients.
But I imagine there will be challenges too,
Of course, every community is different.
with its own unique needs.
Yes, that's
So we
that.
can't just copy and paste this solution everywhere.
Right. We have to adapt it.
So Drive to Thrive is more like a starting point.
A model, a source of inspiration.
But ultimately, each community has to find its own way.
It's about finding the right partners
Building relationships.
and creating a solution that fits their specific needs.
It's like taking that initial spark
Mm-hmm.
and turning it into a flame that can light the way for others.
I love that analogy. So we've talked about the theory,
Mm-hmm.
but now let's look at some real-world examples
Okay.
of initiatives that are already doing this successfully.
Okay, so we've talked about the theory,
Right.
but are there any real-world examples of initiatives that are already doing this, like putting those ideas into action?
Totally. There are some awesome community-driven initiatives all around the world
Okay.
that are already addressing food insecurity in some really creative ways.
Oh, cool. Like what?
Well, for example, have you heard of the mobile food markets in Baltimore?
Mobile markets. Kind of like the sound of that. What's
Okay.
that all about?
So Baltimore, like a lot of cities, has these food deserts.
Mm-hmm.
And they've come up with this really cool idea.
Okay.
They converted old city buses into mobile grocery stores.
Whoa, what? Grocery stores on wheels.
Yeah. And they're stocked with fresh produce, healthy staples.
So they're bringing the grocery store to the people.
Exactly. And they even accept SNAP and EBT payments.
That's amazing. So they're making healthy food accessible and affordable.
Exactly.
That's brilliant.
Right. Such a creative solution.
Okay, what else? Any other cool examples?
Another one that I really like is the community-supported agriculture model.
Community-supported agriculture.
You might have heard of it as CSAs.
CSAs. Okay. Yeah, I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, they're popping up everywhere.
Cool. So what are they all about?
It's basically a partnership
Okay.
between local farms and community members.
So how does it work?
People buy shares of the farm's harvest in advance.
Like a subscription?
Yeah, and then they get a weekly box of fresh, locally grown produce.
Oh, I love that. It's like a farm-to-table subscription box.
Exactly. But it's more than just the food.
Oh, okay. How so?
It creates a direct connection between the consumers and the farmers.
Okay, so you know where your food is coming from.
And it supports local agriculture.
So it's good for the community and the environment.
It's a win-win.
It's amazing how many creative solutions are out there.
Yeah, it's really inspiring.
You know, it's like what you were saying earlier about ownership.
Yeah.
All these solutions really empower communities to take charge of their own food security.
Right. It's not about handouts.
It's about creating a sustainable system.
And giving people the tools to help themselves.
Exactly. Okay, so let's bring it back to Drive to Thrive.
All right.
We've talked about the proposal and the potential impact,
Mm-hmm.
but what about the long-term success of this initiative?
Yeah. What happens after the initial launch?
How do we make sure it's sustainable?
I think that's the key question.
Hmm?
Drive to Thrive has to become more than just a program.
Okay.
It has to become a movement.
A movement. So how do we do that? How do we make that happen?
Well, trust is a big part of it.
Right. People need to believe in the mission.
Exactly. And Foundation Amor Infinito already has that trust in the community.
Yeah, they've got a great reputation.
And we also need data.
Data.
Yeah, we have to track the impact of Drive to Thrive.
Oh, so we can see if it's actually working.
Exactly. We need to measure the results, show the value.
That makes sense. So we're not just relying on good intentions.
We're proving that it works.
Okay. What else is important for long-term success?
I think it's also about being adaptable.
So like being willing to change things up.
Exactly. As the program grows,
Yeah.
they might need to adjust the routes, expand the offerings,
Mhm.
maybe even partner with local farms for fresher produce.
So it's about constantly learning and evolving,
Absolutely. And celebrating successes.
like sharing stories of people whose lives have been changed.
Exactly, because those stories can be so powerful.
Yeah, they make the issue real for people,
They show that change is possible.
and they inspire others to get involved.
Right. It's about showing the human side of the issue.
Wow. So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We started by exploring a solution to food insecurity in the RGV, but it's really about so much more than that.
Right.
It's about community, it's about action,
It's about believing that we can create a better world.
and that starts with each of us.
If there's one thing I hope our listeners take away from this,
Yeah,
it's that they feel empowered.
empowered to make a difference.
Exactly. To
Yeah.
ask questions, to seek solutions, to get involved.
Because change starts with us.
Beautifully said.
Drive to Thrive is just one example
Yeah.
of what's possible when we work together.
When we have a shared purpose,
And remember, no matter where you are,
there's always something you can do.
volunteer at a food bank,
Support a community garden.
start a conversation.
Every action counts.
So until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep diving deep.